Hi, I'm Richard from Frozen Well. Welcome to the devlog for a recent challenge that I've taken part in. If you enjoy my videos, please hit the subscribe and like buttons. I really appreciate your support. So, what have I been up to? Well, over the last week I've been taking part in a game dev challenge with two other game devs, Xanderwood and Mighty Jor. They're both fellow YouTubers and links to their profiles are in the description below. So, to the challenge. We came up with the idea of creating one game in a set timescale, where we each took one part of the development process. Xanderwood was tasked with creating the art assets for the game. When these were done, he would pass them to me to create a game. Once the game was up and running, Mighty Jor would then produce music and sound effects for the game, which I would then implement. We decided that we would have 24 hours of development time in total for all three parts of the challenge. I got a message from Xanderwood saying that he'd mailed me the assets and that I had 22 hours, 37 minutes and 15 seconds left. So I opened my email and took my first look at the assets I had to work with. Xanderwood had warned me that he'd thrown in a few random sprites to make things difficult. Here are the sprites that I received. As you can see, there's some variety, ranging from a set of sprites for the player, some enemies and various platform sprites, to, well, as you can see, a chicken. I need to get thinking of a game that I could use as many of the sprites as possible in. After a short time thinking, I decided that I wanted to make a single screen platformer, and having looked at the sprites, I wanted somehow to incorporate the chicken getting squeezed by the vices and laying eggs. So, with a basic style of game in mind, I set to work creating some basic mechanics for the game. I streamed this live, and at the end of the stream, which lasted roughly 2 hours, I had the player's basic run, jump and ladder climbing mechanics all in place. Here you can see the progress that I'd made. Next, I wanted to get the basic enemy added to the game. They just needed to move left and right to begin with, changing direction when they hit a wall, and then dropping off platforms when they reach the ends. Here's the basic implementation of this. With the basic enemy in place, I moved on to the mechanic that I wanted to add to the game the most. The ability for the player to pull a lever and cause the chicken to lay an egg. Here's the code that I wrote to get this function working. As you can see, when the player collides with the lever, if it hasn't already been triggered, it picks the chicken that has the same ID number as the lever and triggers the animation to squeeze the chicken. It then spawns an egg, which has its direction of movement randomly chosen. Then after waiting 3 seconds, the lever is reset so that it can be pulled again. Here's the egg mechanic working in the game. We're now another couple of hours into the challenge, and as you can see, I've made some good progress with the game. The first major improvement you'll notice is that I've added a tile map to the game, and used this to add all the sprites in for the level, so it's now not just solid shapes. The next thing that is now working is the eggs that spawned by the chicken. They now roll and stop moving after a random time delay. As you can see, they also randomly jump over gaps to create different routes for themselves. This means that the player never really knows where they're going to have to go to collect them. The game's getting close to a finished state now. I've added the enemies in, they appear at the top of the screen at random intervals and then they make their way down the screen. When they reach the bottom, if the player hasn't killed them, they fall in the fire and then reappear at the top of the screen, but are now faster than the first time. This keeps happening until the player kills them. The player has to collect eggs to score points and avoid falling in the fire themselves or coming into contact with any of the enemies. I have a few bits to finish off and tidy up, so I'll check back shortly to show the completed game. Before we look at the finished game, let's take a look at how many of the 100 sprites I managed to use in the game. These are the 100 sprites that I started off with, and a random collection they were. But on checking the game, I've managed to use 75 out of these 100 sprites, which to be honest is far more than I thought I would do. So here's the finished game with Mighty Jor's sound effects and music added. It's a simple one-screen platformer where you have to collect as many eggs and bonus presents as you can without getting killed by the enemies. The enemies get quicker if they reach the bottom of the level and respawn, so that's another incentive to shoot them. The game's now on my itch page, so if you want to give it a try, check it out there, the link's in the description. Thanks for watching, and if you like my videos please hit the subscribe button.